back to the channel. Today, I'm heading to the awesome crawler park at RC045 in the Netherlands to test not one, but two brand new obstacles. Will the crawler make it through like a pro, or will it end in total chaos and rollovers? I originally wanted to bring my Rock Hobby Jeep Michigan to the crawler park, but then this happened. And that's exactly why my trusted Capra once again became the victim of today's testing session. Arriving at the first obstacle, things already started looking sketchy. The obstacle begins with a steep climb up, followed by an even steeper descent back down. And of course, that immediately went completely wrong. Apparently, gravity had other plans for the Capra today. But of course, I'm not the kind of person who gives up that easily. So, time to try again. Maybe going down with a little more speed will make things better. As long as the wheels don't get stuck behind one of the wooden crossbeams, though. There's no escaping it anymore. All right, one last try. This time, I finally know what to expect from this obstacle. And honestly, that already makes a huge difference. But now that I know where the tricky parts are, things are starting to go a lot better. Sometimes all you need is a little experience, and maybe just a tiny bit of luck. Well, let's immediately try conquering this obstacle in reverse direction too. Although, honestly, something is already telling me that the chances of success are going to be very small. The obstacle already felt sketchy enough going one way, so naturally my brilliant idea is to make things even harder. What could possibly go wrong? At this point, I'm basically just testing the Capra's survival skills, more than my driving skills. Something is starting to tell me that the Capra might actually be just a little too wide for this obstacle. I honestly think this challenge would be a completely different story if those wooden crossbeams weren't mounted there. But of course, they're not there without a reason. They make the whole obstacle much stronger and more stable. And to be fair, even without those crossbeams, I don't think the Capra would ever make it up this side anyway. With its high center of gravity, this climb is simply way too extreme. At this point, gravity is definitely winning the battle. Now it's the Absima Sherpa's turn to give this obstacle a try. And just like with the Capra, getting up the obstacle is absolutely no problem at all. But going back down, yeah, that's a completely different story. Apparently, this obstacle really enjoys turning perfectly good RC crawlers into uncontrolled falling objects. And then there's the Axial SCX10 Builder's Kit, casually showing everyone how it's supposed to be done. While the other crawlers were sliding, bouncing, and fighting for survival, the SCX10 just calmly crawled through the obstacle like it owns the place. On the way to the second new obstacle, I first had to climb this insanely steep hill. But for the Capra, this was absolutely no problem at all. Basically child's play. After all the chaos and suffering at the previous obstacle, the Capra finally got a chance to show what it's really made for. Steep climbs like this, the Capra almost treats them like a warm-up exercise. I finally arrived at the second new obstacle, but before trying that one, I spotted another obstacle that I just had to crawl over first. At first glance, this obstacle looks very simple because of its design, but looks can be seriously deceiving. Take the wrong line or place your wheels just slightly wrong, and your crawler will end up right next to the obstacle instead of on top of it. Sometimes the simplest looking obstacles are actually the trickiest ones. But the Capra handled this obstacle like it was absolutely nothing. No struggle, no hesitation, no drama. It just crawled over it like the obstacle didn't even exist. So with that challenge out of the way, it's finally time to head over to the second brand new obstacle. The new obstacle consists of two large pipes placed in a V-shaped setup, with wooden entry ramps that allow you to drive smoothly in and out of the obstacle. And honestly, just like many obstacles at this crawler park, this one perfectly proves that the simplest ideas are often the most brilliant. At first glance, it doesn't even look that extreme or complicated, but once you start driving through it, you quickly notice how technical and fun it actually is. Inside the pipes, the crawler constantly wants to shift its balance, slide to one side, or take a completely different line than you originally planned. That means you really have to control your throttle carefully and pay attention to your wheel placement if you want to make it through smoothly. And that's exactly what makes this obstacle so enjoyable. It's simple, creative, challenging, and just incredibly satisfying to drive through once you find the right line. And of course, the only logical thing to do is immediately try this obstacle from the opposite direction as well. Sure, it's basically the exact same obstacle all over again, but that definitely doesn't make it any less fun. Sometimes a good crawler obstacle simply stays enjoyable no matter which direction you drive it from. And honestly, with obstacles like this, every run can still feel completely different, depending on your line choice, balance, and a little bit of luck. I've now tested both of the new obstacles, and honestly, I am seriously impressed by both of them. One obstacle is definitely more difficult than the other, but that's exactly what makes crawling here so enjoyable and varied. Every obstacle brings a completely different challenge, different driving techniques, and a different kind of excitement. One moment you're carefully balancing on a technical section, and the next moment you're fighting gravity on a steep climb or descent. That's what makes RC crawling so much fun to me. Around every corner, there could be a completely new challenge waiting for you. And honestly, parks like this never get boring because there's always another obstacle calling your name. Except here, because this is where the road suddenly ends. For the safety of the people crawling here, proper stair steps were built to safely reach the top of the hill. But of course, the moment I saw those stairs, I immediately knew I had to try driving the Capra down them. And honestly, that turned into a challenge all by itself. The suspension had to work hard while the Capra bounced its way down step by step, trying to stay under control the entire time. The final obstacle for today. And honestly, this is one that I personally really enjoy. And with this final sliding moment, it's time for me to wrap things up again. Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, on to the next RC adventure.